can't move my arms.
Oh, you worried about that jacket?
Yeah, okay, all right. All right. Hey everyone, this is Kimsey Hollifield with Hollifield Financial Group. Today I want to talk to you about something that we have been really excited about that we've been using for our clients called structured banknotes. And the reason why we've been using these for our clients is interest rates are horrible at banks. Bonds really don't provide the safety and the interest that you want. And so in looking for a tool or a product that we could use for our clients, that would give them some safety and that would give them some reasonable interest. Structured banknotes was just a great thing. I want to take a second and explain, and then I want to tell you a little story about some clients of ours that came in and something that we did for them using these structured banknotes. Okay. First of all, a banknote or a structured banknote is an investment tool that has a derivative and a bond component. What that means is basically it's going to act like a bond that you're familiar with, but it's also going to be linked to something else. Derivative means it derives from something else, right? So it's going to be linked to something else. The market, interest rates, stocks. It's going to have some linking in there, and I'll explain how that works as well. Okay. The most important part of this, or the coolest part of this, is that they're issued by big banks that we know and trust. So we use Bank of America, we use JP Morgan, Citigroup, Barclays, and so the banks will put out parameters for these accounts, but then the banks are actually holding the guarantees on them. And so we use banks that you're comfortable with, that you're familiar with, that you probably already have money with now. But the interest rates are so much better. We're talking about 6, 8, 10, 11, 12% sometimes. So very high interest rates on these. Very high interest rates. There are two different types of banknotes. There's what's called a growth note, and there's what's called an income note. Today we're going to be talking about income notes because that's primarily what we do at our firm. Is we do a lot of income notes. And so I want you to look at this graphic. A structured banknote sort of works like this, right? You put your money in the account, and then it's going to have a particular amount of time. It could be 1 year, it could be 9 months, 1 year, it could be as long as 3 years or 5 years. A lot of our clients will choose structured banknotes that are between 1 and 3 years in term. I think that people are comfortable with that because you're used to having CDs and other things like that that have those sort of time limits. But also that's where you really get the good interest rates in that time frame. So I'm going to show you an example of one, how it would work. You put your money in, and for the next 3 years, it's going to pay a certain amount of interest. And let's just, for easy math, let's say that you picked one out and it's going to pay 8% interest. So throughout this term, it's going to pay 8% interest per year. And then remember, it's linked to something else. So it's going to be linked to something else. And in our example, let's just say it's going to be linked to the S&P 500. Okay. So the S&P 500 is going to go up and down and up and down. And we don't know exactly. Nobody knows exactly where it's going to be at the end of this 3 years. But on all of these structured banknotes, you have a protection level. So a protection level might be 10 or 20 or 30 or 40%. You can set that protection level, or rather the bank set the protection level, and then you get to choose which banknote you want. So in our example, let's say that you're going to have a protection level of 30%. What that means is you have a safety net underneath your principal here, where the market is going to go up, the market's going to go down, the market might even go lower than 30%. But as long as the stock market doesn't end up at the end of 3 years lower than 30%, or let's say more than a 30% loss, it could actually be down. The market could be down 5 or 10 or 20, 25, 29%. As long as the market doesn't go down, more than what your protection limit is, then 100% of your principal is returned to you. So if you put $100,000 in this thing here, and the market, even if the market went down 10 or 20%, your $100,000 would be completely safe and guaranteed. And then at the end of this term, it would now be in cash. But throughout this entire time, you've been getting, in this example, 8% per year. So that is a fantastic interest rate. It's actually a lot better than you would get in a bond fund. And a lot of people use bond funds. And a lot of people use bond funds for safety, for the safe portion of their portfolio. You hear 60-40 or 70-30 a lot. What that means is that if you have a 60-40 portfolio, which you hear a lot, that means that 60% is going to be in stocks and then maybe 40% is going to be in bonds. The problem with that is that 40% in bonds, it's not paying 8%, or typically it's not paying 5 or 4 or even 3% nowadays. I want to show you another graphic, and this is really how we build financial plans for clients. This is showing a house, and when I'm talking to a client, a prospective client, I like to explain their financial situation like a house. You have the foundation of the house, and we have another video out that'll explain some of the different tools that we use for a foundation. That money in the foundation has to be safe. It has to be completely protected and completely guaranteed. You cannot have any risk in that foundation. That's money that, yeah, it might earn some interest, but more than anything, you can't have any risk in that. And that's different for everybody. This is what I like to call the walls of the house. This is a portion of your money that you want to have protection, you want to be very safe, but maybe you can take a little bit of risk into this to get the certain amount of income. And once again, this is different for everybody, where you're trying to get a certain amount of income or a certain amount of guaranteed growth with the level of protection. And then the roof of the house is the market. That's money that you have in the market. That's your riskiest money. And we have another video coming out that talks about some of the things that we do for our clients in the market to help them there. But I want to tell you a story of some clients that came in to see us, Robert and Sarah. And I changed their name, but their situation is exactly the same. It might be a similar situation to what you have. Robert and Sarah actually came to us. They had moved from New York down to Charleston. We met them in our Somerville office. And when they met with me, they had about $750,000 in a firm still up in New York. And so a couple of things that I noticed initially, they were split really well as far as the structure of their house, their safe money versus their income money versus their market money. There was nothing really glaring, really big mistakes there. But one of the things that I noticed is the walls of their financial plan that's supposed to provide them with income, even if the market doesn't go up, they had about $200,000 in that portion of their money in their portfolio, and that $200,000 was split in between a bunch of different bond funds that was averaging less than 2% interest. So they were getting $3,500 per year income off of this $200,000 that they had set aside. One of the things that we did for them was we actually replaced their traditional bond funds with some of these structured banknotes. And it didn't really change a lot of their overall strategy. They still kept all of their foundation money in the same exact account. We were able to help them with that. They still really kept their market money exactly the same. The only real change we made for them was we took this $200,000 that is supposed to be pretty protected, pretty safe. We moved it from old traditional bond funds paying $3,500 a year in dividends, and we instead switched that out for a Bank of America structured banknote. In their situation, they got one paying 11% interest. So I want you to think about this. They went from getting $3,500 per year in income off of this money to $22,000 per year in income. And it changed their life. And the reason why it changed their life is because they can take that money now and they can spend it, they can go on vacations, they can do things that they want to do, or they can just let that money grow. But what it did is it allowed them to get a reasonable rate of return that was not tied to the market going up. That is a situation that a lot of people have been using structured banknotes for. And if that's you, and you have a brokerage account or you have a financial advisor or an IRA, and you see that you have these bond funds, you can look at your statement and you can see what the interest rate is. And a lot of times we've seen clients really benefit from switching out old bond funds that aren't paying much interest into new structured banknotes. Because let's be honest, we have to keep up with inflation, right? Everything's getting expensive for everybody nowadays. And with inflation being 7 or 8 or 9% interest, you really want your money to be able to grow by that without taking on extra risk. So if you have questions about your situation, if you have questions about if a structured banknote can work for you, I think they're fantastic, and I would love to help you and answer any questions that you have. So do me a favor, like the video and subscribe if you're not subscribed, and we'll continue to put out more content like this. And any specific videos that you want to see, comment down here or message me, and I'll make a video specifically for whatever questions you have. So I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day.